Fantastic, sir. Welcome to the Essential 11, sir. It is an honor to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we've got a lot of mutual friends, you and I do. And so I've been following your journey, and I just appreciate the work that you're doing. More importantly, appreciate the human being that you are and the man that you are. So
Can you tell my family, because my kids don't give me respect. My wife thinks I'm a waste of time. Somebody like behind me.
That's so funny. Yeah, and I'm sure that is not the case, but that is awesome, and I would definitely be glad to spread the good word. No doubt about it. And what we have today is the young men, some of the young men of Apogee Strong on here as well, which we get to run as special episodes of the Essential 11. Apogee Strong is the mentorship program run by myself and Tim Kennedy. And we just bring on the best of the best. And these young men have committed to a year of growing to be the leaders that we need now more than ever. So it's an honor to have, you and, again, a lot of our mutual friends have jumped in and poured in. So it's rad.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for having me. And kids, thanks for committing.
That's it.
At 6 a.m. this morning, I had a senior, my kids wrestle, my boys wrestle. Yes. And there's no official practice at 6 a.m., but we go in. And I'm starting to collect young kids that are committed, that are showing up at 6 a.m. And I'm asking the seniors who are gone, and they have no commitment anymore. Like they've already committed to Navy or North Carolina or you name the college.
Right.
And they're coming in and they're handing the torch to the young kids, and I'm watching it happen. And it's fun to see when kids are that solid, right? Because then you and I could see the trajectory that kid is going to go on, because the little things we see now.
That's it. And I'm interested to dive into that concept of young people and the commitment. We had an event last week that I held at one of my campuses. Myself, Beaudreau, Ryan Mickler, who I know you know, John Levels, a number of us put on this event and went and spoke. And I was speaking specifically on the need to build up strong young men so we don't have to fix broken men later on. And we talked about developing that commitment early on. What do you think? The trend, looking at young people, do you think commitment is kind of this cultural trend that's on the downward spiral as it is, both young and old? What do you think in terms of that?
Well, I think about, I listened to a podcast a couple of years ago about an Italian family that somehow we have the records, the financial records up from the 1400s or something. It's some of the oldest financial records there are. And when you sift through those records, you start to imagine the deals that were done back then, where you shook hands, and then the party that you were doing the deal with, got on a horse and worked their way to Asia to go get silk.
Right.
And then 9 months later came back, delivered the product, got paid, and it was all done, on a handshake.
Yes, sir.
And you didn't know there was no phone. There was no
That's right.
The person was dead. And so today, none of that needs to exist. It's right. We've got phones and disappearing videos, and there's less consequence to not holding up your word, not being committed. So just our environment has changed, and then parents, it's really hard as a parent. It's not an excuse when I say this, but it's really hard as a parent or a teacher. Well, let me start with this. I did a group call yesterday with my company. And a week ago, I had met with the insurance company trying to figure out how I can get my insurance costs down.
Mm-hmm.
Not an irrational thought from a CEO that's paying millions of dollars in insurance.
Right.
And the insurance company said, you guys don't have a lot of claims. There's not a lot of people getting hurt. However, for some reason, there are a lot of births at your and it's true. I don't know why.
Something in the water over there, huh?
And then they have a baby.
Yeah.
And so I made a comment on this group call, and I said, somehow the insurance company said we are like a baby factory. That offended someone. I just found we have 500 people around. That offended a woman in the UK. And I don't know her background. I don't know why she got offended. I don't know how she interpreted it. I don't understand the culture maybe in England. But if those kinds of things bother people, then what it does to me as a parent of this organization is say, well, fuck it. Like, I got to be careful what I say. And so then you start to put me in a box. You start to put everybody in this box where we're like so delicate.
Yep.
And I think that's where parents are. I think that's where parents are. So just naturally the kids, the next generation then becomes softer, less committed because the parent is like walking on eggshells. And
yes,
you know, I'm rare. The wrestling coach where I'm next to is rare. That
that's
after
great,
I
buddy.
said that,
Yeah.
he commented and said, "Hey, listen, if you have a tough time reaching me, it was interpreted as that's the reason we can't reach women is because they're having babies." And I was like, "What? Like, how did that happen?"
Unreal. And I think, I mean, you hit the nail on the head, right? We have got this cultural influence going on here, and it does come in so many different ways. Everybody, throws the media out there, and of course the media has a part in that, but the parenting trends and us being delicate on what we're saying because we risk offending somebody with everybody, the way schools have played into it. It's exactly why I build the schools that I do, and I help entrepreneurs build the schools that I do so that we can get outside of this.
Yeah, when I make a recommendation to all the kids on the call is my mother used to say something to me when I was a kid. It just occurred to me, and I'm going to make it part of our ethos at this company, and I'm going to respond to that comment that we just talked about. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me.
That's right.
That was it.
That's it.
And so, like, if Dr. Seuss somehow is hurting you or whatever, like, stop. It's not a stick or a stone. Stop.
That's right. That is right. Gosh, man, I wish we could get back to that old adage, man. And I love that your boys are wrestling. I think wrestling and combat sports are a great way to get around that. It's kind of like the old Fight Club thing of like, once you've kind of been in a fight in front of a bunch of people, everything else, the noise gets turned way down. Combat sports are huge for that. I love that because
yeah, they wrestle. The girls play soccer. I wish the girls wrestled, but I couldn't win that.
So rad though. So rad.
Oh, and this wrestling program, guys, this wrestling program that they are part of, the coach who started it 12 years ago makes me look normal. He is a maniac, pushes the kids, incredible intentions. Even when they don't have a tournament on a weekend, he makes them make weight. There's nothing to make weight for. I don't care. You need to show me that you can make weight. Because it's hard to make weight, guys, right?
Sure.
We're all gluttons. That's why there's so many fat people walking around. It's like naturally we just want to eat. I want to eat all the time. And so to abstain from overeating and it's hard to do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So good, man. Yeah, obviously I came from a combat background. That's how Tim and I first met. We had Bo Nickel on last week, Olympic qualifier.
I was with his dad last night.
You were with Bo's dad?
Yeah, last night.
No, that's so funny, man. That's awesome. I love the timing on that. Yeah, just good humans. You remember the old 86 Vision Quest?
Yes.
So my son's name is Loudon, and that's exactly why. That's it. So it's a big deal. That's awesome, man. I love on your website too. It says Joe builds unbreakable humans. And I just think that's freaking fantastic. So you as a young man, and I know a little bit about your backstory and growing up in New York, and you had kind of that entrepreneurial bug, early. Did your parents help cultivate that kind of unbreakable spirit? Do you credit them with that? Do you credit the entrepreneurial DNAs, a little bit of both? Where do you think that came from?
Well, the neighborhood, guys, if we walked into one of the houses in the neighborhood, and I had access to everybody's house because I was cleaning swimming pools for everybody.
Yeah.
So if anybody had a swimming pool, if they were fortunate enough to have a swimming pool, I was Joe the pool guy. And so I was cleaning the pool and I had access. I could just walk in their house, open the fridge for like a lot of people. The mom in that house might have a CB radio in the kitchen while she was making sauce.
Yeah.
Because the family owned a tow truck company. And she was literally taking calls while she was cooking. Early in the morning, it wouldn't be rare to see lots of trucks parked outside in front of people's house, big trucks, tractor trailer, because they might have been truckers or whatever. So 5 a.m., you're hearing diesel trucks get started up, right? A lot of people own restaurants, pizza places, bagels. And so everybody hustled. And then there were a lot of bad people too that, did bad things for a living, but even they worked hard. So yes, my parents helped build some resilience, but the whole neighborhood, the whole environment, they say it takes a village, and this village was a bunch of hustling, hardworking people that if you didn't have that drive, that itch, you got left behind very
Yeah,
quickly, and it was almost frowned upon. It
sure.
would be it would be like if everybody in the neighborhood was a marathon runner, like you better run.
Yeah, yeah,
You
that's
better run,
awesome.
otherwise, like, or move out of the neighborhood. But my mom introduced me to a race in the 1970s, early 80s, called the Transcendence Run. And it's a race in Queens, New York, around a 1 mile loop, still exists today, that people attempt to do 3,100 laps. So it's 3,100 miles around a 1 mile loop, 50 or 60 days of running. And so if you're a young person and you see a bunch of people out there 50, 60 days and their shoes are worn off and they're bleeding and they're pissing blood and they keep running and the trucks are starting and the mom is using a CB radio, you're not limited in your mind by
That's
what's
right.
not possible. You're like, I fucking do anything. I
That
can do
is
anything with my mind
it.
too, right?
That is it. That's exactly. So I was talking to Uriah Faber the other day, and we were talking about how we raise our kids. We talking about that exact thing. We want that to be the normal. Like there is nothing that you can't do. If you need to, have the ability my girls are 11 and 9, and I always tell the story. They bought horses with the businesses they run in the schools that we built, right? Because I want them to know early on, you're going to fail and that's okay. You're going to fail forward, but look what's possible. There is nothing impossible. He's like, I want to be able to jump on a jet with my little girl and go check out some real estate because I want her to think, you know what, this can be normal as long as I'm willing to put in the work. What you're surrounding yourself with, vitally important for these young people.
Yeah, I'd love to get this crew. I don't know how many are on the call with us, but I'd love to get this crew to our Vermont death race, which is the end of June. I'll give them a bunch
So
of
cool.
entries. But that would be a great classroom for them. In 3 days, it would be like 4 years at Stanford.
That's true story. True story. I worked at Stanford. That's a true story. That's a true story, man. Yeah, I love what you're doing out there too. Would you mind telling these guys a little bit about what you do out there at the ranch in Vermont?
Yeah, so I bought this farm in 2000, the year 2000, 22 years ago, and it's really awesome. It's just epic. It's got a mountain in the back. The moon comes. It's just unbelievable, and so I said, how do I get people to come here? Because I don't want to be alone on the farm with chickens and pigs and stuff. And so I started inviting people to come out and do like crazy races. And one of the races I came up with was a death race. Why'd you name it a death race? Because I felt like all my life being an entrepreneur and just hustling in the neighborhood I just described to you, it was like hard. Like everything that can go wrong does go wrong. Customers don't pay you when they're supposed to. Like shit. I'm going through hell right now with Spartan and coming out of COVID. I mean, hell. Like I thought by now, 53 years old, I wouldn't be dealing with this shit anymore. Like I'm going through hell.
Yeah.
And so the death race attempts to emulate that in a very compressed time frame. In 3 days, can I make somebody feel that hell and their back is up against the wall and they just want to quit? And so I've had whatever, let's call it 15 years, 17 years of death races on the farm. And I've had, 3,000 people over those years come out. And of the 3,000, maybe 150 have finished.
Wow.
And it's only 3 days.
Yeah.
You do anything for 3 days.
Yeah.
But I can get in your mind, and I could really mess with it. And so it shines a mirror in your face. You get to find out who you are during that time period. And the goal, it's annoying if you're a participant because my goal is to break you. But in that process, you might become stronger. And then if you fail, which most will, you look back on it and say like, I didn't need to quit.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I could have just kept going for another day and a half.
Yep.
So that's what we do on the farm. We do crazy events, 100-mile snowshoes. One of our events we do on the farm. We do a 50-mile ultra run. We do a really tough mountain bike race. And those were the original races I put on. And then from there, Spartan was born. But I still I have an emotional attachment to those events. So
For sure.
I do them, and I'd love to. Yeah, everybody's always invited. So
That's awesome, man. Oh, we'll have to figure out something we can make something like that happen. That's amazing. Yeah, you learn the difference between hard and life and, you know, a life and death. Most people treat hard things like a life or death thing. What you mentioned coming out of COVID with Spartan, hard is going to happen. Period. End of story. It's part of life.
Yeah.
Hard's going to happen, and you got to choose your heart. And I've heard you say that before too. You know, you're gonna have to choose your heart. You know, you pick.
It's hard. It's hard to not finish something.
Yep.
It's harder, you know, to finish.
To finish it. Yes, sir. That's
Get
exactly
over
right.
it. Yeah, you know, divorce is hard.
That's right.
Marriage is harder.
So one of the, you know, again, I left working in education to build schools and programs for young people, specifically because of the need to develop that mindset. That I think school, one of the sneaky things about school is that you build these patterns of behavior, you know, over 12 years of outsourcing your freedom, outsourcing your voice, outsourcing your opinion, outsourcing your ability to go find answers for yourself and figure out who you really are and choose something hard and to fail. And, you know, it's all of those things. We built something completely different. So when you look, I've got 2 questions left, gentlemen, and then I'm going to open it up to you. When you look at school today, is there anything you would change specifically in that to help young people to just be more prepared to tackle that hard that's inevitable?
Yeah, I mean, for me, if I ran a school, which I would love to run a school, so you're speaking my language,
Yeah.
The kids would have to exercise in the morning before we start.
Yes.
All the science shows that they're going to be more likely to absorb the knowledge if they exercise and sweat.
Yeah.
Before we start. So I don't care what's politically correct or not. Like everybody would exercise.
Yes, sir.
By the way, this is going to sound terrible, but I would probably even do some sort of pat down or whatever, and just make sure there's no vaping sticks sneaking in.
Yeah.
Because apparently it's everywhere.
Yep.
And so that would be my school. Not to make it sound like a prison, but it would have some of the components of prison for sure.
Well, regular school's got some of the components of prison, just not the good stuff.
Yeah.
This would be some of the beneficial stuff. God, I love that.
And then I would definitely not have kids sit all day. So we'd
Yes,
be
sir.
moving, you could sit for a little while, but we'd be moving around in the classrooms.
Yes,
I
sir.
would require all my kids to take handwritten notes in every class.
Yeah.
And then before we leave for the day, there would be a class where all students are required to rewrite all their notes into another notebook, and I'd move everything from short-term memory into long-term memory. By doing that. Maybe there's a teacher or so in those rooms that could kind of review anything that's confusing while you're making that transfer of notes. But I'm setting the kids up for success. The food would be incredibly healthy, and if you don't want to eat it, then you don't eat.
That's right.
Be really, really simple. And then I would make sure that I teach, you know, entrepreneurship. I would make sure I teach personal finances. I'd make sure I teach, you know, stocks and bonds and all the things, how to interview. You'd become you'd have incredible capabilities to be interviewed or interview somebody else. And I would probably even throw in some fun things, like things that CIA agents or FBI agents learn and become proficient at, on how to read people. And
Yes, sir.
yeah, a lot of real world skills. I believe in calculus and algebra and everything else, but I don't use a ton of it.
Right. It's the transferability.
Yeah. So things that by the way, no one could graduate unless they could put a 2x4 wall up, screw in some sheetrock, plaster and tape it, wire, like everybody would have to do that.
That's right. Oh, I love it, man. Grow some food,
Yeah.
skin a buck, like what practicality, things that are transferable, that every good leader needs to know. I love it, man. That's it. That's we talk about that all day, every day in building these schools. I'm not sure if Trevor's able to be on the call today, but I got a young man, Trevor, who's a part of this program. He is my chef at one of my campuses. So he's in there making real food every single day, real stuff that's really good for you, making it for all of the younger kids.
Where are you guys located?
So I have a few campuses that I run in Northern California, but I help entrepreneurs all over the world. I'm bringing one for Zella. We're getting one going out there for First Form. We're getting, I help entrepreneurs around the world. We get about 300 locations globally right now.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, this is the way to go. And the physical fitness component, man. I was talking to, are you familiar with a man named Zach Evan Esch?
Good friend, very good friend.
Oh, Zach. So Zach is my buddy, man. And he was sending me, not too long ago, kind of some of these old school videos of this one school in particular that was actually in California of these young studs.
High Sierra.
Yes, sir. Man, nothing more I want to integrate into these schools. I mean, that is it. So good, man.
You should definitely bring all the kids, your chef or whatever, and come to the farm when I'm there. I run a death camp for the kids before the death race starts. So
Nice.
I'll have like 50 kids out there that are going through death camp.
Yeah.
It's very much Navy SEALs.
Yep.
You're woken up early in the morning. You're in ice cold water.
Yeah.
The whole thing. But I also mix in some philosophy and some other cool stuff. So
so rad.
Yeah, you should tie in somehow.
Yeah, we'll have to make that happen, man. I love that. It's so needed. The last question I have that's kind of dovetailing on that for me, and then gentlemen, you guys get your questions ready, please, and I'll call on you in the chat. If you had a young person come to you and says, Mr. DeSena, I'm 15. Gentlemen, make sure you guys are muted up, please. Says, Mr. DeSena, I'm 16, 17, 18. I'm about to graduate from high school. When I get done, there is nothing more that I want than to come work with you. I love your mission. What do you want to see from a young person that would make you take a chance? You've got a, huge organization. You got, hundreds of employees. You guys are doing amazing work. What would make you go, yeah, you know what? I'll take a risk on this young hero.
So let me tell you this way. I'll tell you with a story. I'll answer it with a story. Every year I speak at Cornell University, and I'll speak to 600 kids. And at the end of the class, I'll say, listen, anybody wants any help getting a job, whatever, come down. And I'll ask how many kids are interested in that, and I don't know, 70 kids out of the 600, 60 kids, 10% raise their hand. We're in. Well, I'm standing down there where I was speaking, and of the 60, like 12 actually come down.
Yeah.
Right? They couldn't be bothered. They were busy with something else, right? Whatever. 12 actually come down. Of the 12 I talked to, all of them are in. They all want great, follow up. Of the 12, 5 follow up.
I believe that.
Of the 5 that follow up, 3 show up. Of the 3, 1 sticks it out.
Yes, sir.
So you get 1 out of 600. So if that young person, that 15-year-old you described, that person actually has a personality, looks me in the eyes, says all the right things, shows up 15 minutes early is on time, and follows through, I'll do anything for that person.
Yes, sir.
For that person. Otherwise, a waste of my time.
Yes, sir. Oh, love it. Thank you for that. I love it. Gentlemen, I want you to go ahead and get your hands up. I'll grab you one at a time here, and we'll make sure we honor Mr. DeSena's time. Okay. Benaya, you are up, sir.
Hey, thank you, sir, for getting on this call. It really means a lot. I was wondering who are some of your mentors that really influenced you in your early life?
Well, definitely mom and dad. There was an organized crime boss that was my neighbor. He was the head of the Banana organized crime family. He gave me 3 tips. He gave me 3 big tips. He said, look, and I just mentioned one of them, if you're going to show up on time, on time is late. So show up 15 minutes early. He said, if you're going to clean my swimming pool, you better go above and beyond. Even though I'm not paying you to clean the shed, straighten up the lawn furniture, clean the windows, you better do all those things anyway and make yourself invaluable. Number 3, never ask for money, which was counterintuitive. I don't understand that. But he said, you'll get paid if you provide value. You don't need to have your hand out and be annoying. So those 3 things I carried with me through life. So my parents, him, a guy I met at Cornell, Al Capucci, we can call him right now if you wanted, and he gave me lots of advice, still gives me advice. So I had an affinity to finding older people. I don't know why. I ingratiated myself with those older people, and they helped me. I would not be where I am if I didn't, figure out how to make friends and influence people. There's a great book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. You guys should all read it. And you should. They even run classes at Dale Carnegie Institute. You should take the class.
Yeah, absolutely. Could not agree more.